basically the new program instead of being in the base budget, so I just had to move it down to the new program area. So it's just a little bit of shifting in total. There's not much of a change from what was talked about at the last board meeting. This is the non-operating section of the budget. Again, we have 2007 budget, the 2008 information and change. We have interest income as a non-operating, that's interest earned on money in the fund, debt service, interest expense, and amortization expenses, for a total actual net loss of $179,000. But cash-wise, this utility actually is generating some cash, or staying in the positive in terms of cash, for this proposed budget. Next budget we looked at last board meeting was water utility. The same columns on here as I had on the sewer utility budget. Operating revenue-wise, we're going up some, 4%. This is mainly due to growth. The actual Public Service Commission determines our rates. Our last rate increase for this the water utility was January 2004. And actually, when the Public Service Commission determined our rates, they based it on a 2.5 rate of return, which is the lowest return in the state. Operating expense-wise, one of our major operating expenses is purchase water. We purchase water from the city of Kenosha Water Utility. Because of increase in sales, due to the number of water customers, we've increased that expense. Waste and benefits had a small, actually, decrease. Water and sewer share 8 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. Allocations of these employees change year to year, based on the demand of each utility. Therefore, this year, we've shifted a little more over in the sewer utility and less in the water utility. Therefore, that's the reason for the decrease. The utility employees still have a wage increase of 3.5%, and 50% increase in health insurance is also felt in this utility as well. But because we allocated more to the sewer utility in terms of personnel shift this year, that's why the decrease this year. Operational and maintenance, we have an inflationary increase, including, again, fuel and electric costs. New program-wise, some of the new programs we're looking at is tower interior painting and sandblasting for Lakeview, I-94 and Timber Ridge Tower for a little over $18,000. We're also looking at I-94 exterior painting for $50,000. And we're looking at tank diving inspection and settlement removal for $11,000. And the database administrator, 33% overall in all the utilities. And GS Tech, 40% overall for utilities. Program reduction is reduction to water loss. The proposal is to hire or have our consultant that does our leak detection come in twice a year instead of just once a year to be able to reduce our water loss. So overall, this utility is similar in terms of net gain to last year, just a little more, about $4,000 more in terms of net gain for the utility. So it's pretty much stable, similar to last year. Again, this budget has a non-operating component to it. We have money in an enterprise fund to earn interest on. Looking at an increase there. Debt, this utility has debt. They haven't borrowed for a number of years, but that's slowly decreasing, should be hopefully gone in the next 5 or so years. Interest expense-wise and amortization expense-wise, it's pretty much similar because we have our debt leveled over the years. Transfers, this fund transfers tower leases to Recplex to support the therapeutic rec program. Tax equivalent, they pay the general government $560,000 as a tax similar to a property tax payment to the general government. So again, this utility is looking good in terms of a net gain of $185,000 proposed for 2008. So our third utility is solid waste. This is a proposed 2008 budget for the solid waste. Revenue-wise, we're looking at growth minus a revenue reduction of about $20,000 for residents that decide to choose our limited collection option. We're unsure exactly how many people will choose that option, but we reduced our revenue of about $20,000 in anticipation. Otherwise, most of the other expenses have stayed pretty similar to the previous year, some up and some down. The biggest increase is in garbage expense. The garbage expense increased because the state tax on municipal solid waste increased from $380 to $590, and that was effective November 1st, 2007 as part of the state budget That has increased our expense almost $13,000 for taking at the landfill. Overall, this fund is doing well. It's able to accumulate funds for future replacement of garbage trucks and other equipment, leaf collection, compost site type equipment. So we're looking at a slight decrease in terms of net operating gain, but it all depends, tipping fee wise, and how many people choose the option of limited collection versus unlimited collection. Clean water. This is our summary of clean water. We have the estimated 2007, and then the proposed budget for 2008. There was just a small shift here in terms of personnel. Actually, other than that, net overall change of nothing compared to what we proposed or what we presented on October 29th. The revenues are increased about $20,000. This is due to growth. There is no rate increase in this fund plan. We're sticking at the $3 per equivalent unit and also the 25 cents per parcel. Expense-wise, personnel-wise, this fund is pretty new. In the first year, we did not allocate any of our overhead type expenses that the other utilities had in their budgets. So at this budget review, we actually re-looked at our allocations, and we allocated some IT expenses and finance expenses to this utility, totaling about $30,000. Also, there's some wage increases, step and inflationary, a 3.5 rate increase for these employees also. There's a little more hours allocated here, just like the utilities, the sewer and water utilities, the public works, clean water, and solid waste shared employees also. And so we're not adding additional employees, but we're kind of shifting a little bit here and putting a little more toward the clean water utility. So overall, we're looking at a slight loss in this utility, but that's the depreciation of $600,000 in there. This budget does accumulate cash for future replacement of infrastructure and to do some capital projects in the near future. So that's the end of my presentation of the general government budgets and the utility enterprise budgets.
Thank you, Kathy. With that, we'll move on to item 7, the public hearings. And the first portion of that will be item A, the proposed 2008 budget hearing. And with that, we'll open it up to citizens' comments.
We have 2 residents sign up. First one is Bob Becca.
If you wish to speak on this item, we ask that you give us your name and address for the record.
Bob Babcock, 11336 Lakeshore Drive. I think that was a very good presentation. It answered just about all of my questions. So the only comment now that I would make is you folks have all been elected to represent us in the budget process, and I, for one, feel confident that you're going to do the right thing for us. Thank you.
Dick Jankowski.
Dick Jankowski, 702250 First Avenue, and I want to echo what Bob Eckhart said, and I appreciate the presentation that was given. I wish actually that what had been on the website had been there earlier, because it would have answered a lot of questions sooner, and there are still some questions that perhaps in future comments made by the trustees and by village administration we can look at. It appears here, and I spent a couple hours with the budget figures a couple Saturdays ago going over them, and it appears that much of what we're doing is an investment at this time, a lot of it because of things that had been deferred. We can spend money now, we can spend more money later, but I think it became evident that there are certain